Morbidly wholesome. Cristiano Ronaldo refuses to get any tattoos because he doesn't want them to affect his ability to frequently donate blood. The ashes of Stephen Hawking were buried between the graves of Isaac Newton and Charles Darwin. As a final tribute, the European Space Agency beamed recordings of Hawking's voice to the nearest black hole. A Chilean boy with brain cancer gained 5 million subscribers in 2 days after the Hispanic community found out about his dream of becoming a YouTuber. A man from Oregon named Kirk Alexander was saved by not ordering a Domino's pizza. After 7 straight years of ordering every day, he went almost 2 weeks without one, which worried the staff. A delivery driver later stopped by his home and heard him screaming for medical help before dialing 911. Morbid Facts. Mike Tyson got into his first fight after a bully ripped the head off of one of his pigeons. He said that the pigeon was the first thing that he ever loved and inspired him to become a fighter. There are more Panda Express locations in the world than actual pandas. When people die from Alzheimer's, it's usually because the disease got so bad that they forgot how to swallow or breathe. There's a blue whale who sings at such a high frequency that he's unable to communicate with other whales. Nicknamed 52 Blue, his calls have been heard every year since the 1980s but never receive a response. He's been called the world's loneliest whale. Despite growing up deaf and blind, Helen Keller was a supporter of eugenics. She believed that infants who were born with severe mental or physical disabilities were better off dying. Tobacco companies spend the most money on advertising during the month of January. This is because January is when most people are trying to quit as New Year's resolutions. This is a photo of an Iraqi officer with a fearless expression on his face just moments before being beheaded by an ISIS militant. Male otters have been known to violently rape female otters, baby seals, and other sea creatures. Sadly, this often results in death for the victims since the male otter will sometimes bite and drown them to get his way. The Grinch as a kid was played by an 18-year-old actor with dwarfism. Sadly, he died of heart failure just 2 years after the movie released. In child porn cases, someone has to actually watch the video from beginning to end so that they can testify about it in court. This was a banquet for French soldiers who received horrible injuries during World War I. A woman posted this photo on Reddit to show the progression of Alzheimer's through her mother's crocheting. From left to right, the squares show her mother's decline over a 2-year span. Male dolphins have been known to violently rape female dolphins in groups. They've also been observed killing dolphin calves so that the calf's mother will feel more inclined to mate with them. Kim Jong-un travels with his own toilet to prevent his excretions from falling into the wrong hands. The waste contains important information about his health status and can't be left behind. In the 1960s, the CIA spent $20 million on a cat equipped with gear to spy on the Soviets. Sadly, the operation was canceled when the cat was hit and killed by a taxi almost immediately. A 115-year-old woman from Nepal has been smoking at least 1 pack of cigarettes per day since 1920. She claims that smoking has aided in her longevity and that all the doctors who advised her to quit have already died. Morbid Facts. This is why saturation diving is one of the highest paying jobs in the world. In 1983, 4 rig workers were working deep in a diving chamber in the North Sea. When one of the men opened a hatch too early, the chamber quickly depressurized and dropped from 9 atmospheres of pressure to 1 in less than a second. All 4 men were killed instantly as the pressure was so explosive that it caused 3 of the divers' blood to flash boil. The 4th diver wasn't any luckier as he was forced through a small opening and violently torn apart. According to the autopsy, all of the organs of his chest were launched out of his body and projected upwards more than 30 feet. All of the men likely died immediately, but the investigators were never the same after discovering such a gruesome scene. This is a photo of a professional violinist playing her instrument as surgeons remove a tumor from her brain. Doctors asked her to play the violin so that her musical abilities wouldn't be damaged during the procedure. In 1944, a group of American airmen were shot down by the Japanese. Out of the 10 men, 9 of them were captured, tortured, executed, and cannibalized. The only man who evaded capture and survived was future President George H.W. Bush. Sloths only have enough energy for their weekly toilet trip to the jungle floor. So if their baby ever falls to the ground, they must choose to preserve their energy and leave it to be eaten. A San Francisco man tweeted this just 5 minutes before being the victim of a random drive-by shooting. In 2015, a Colombian man had a tapeworm inside of him that got cancer. The cancer then metastasized and the man eventually died from tumors of tapeworm throughout his entire body. A 24-year-old nurse in India was set on fire by her ex-boyfriend after she rejected his advances. But police say the woman caught hold of him tightly so that he couldn't escape after killing her. While the woman died on the spot, the man suffered for days before succumbing to his injuries during treatment. After being convicted for the murder of Deborah Reese in 1993, Liddell Lee maintained his innocence for 24 years. Before his execution in 2017, his last words were, "I am an innocent man." Just a few days ago, a different man's DNA was found on the murder weapon. Female ducks are raped so frequently that many species have developed a second decoy vagina through evolution. They can offer it to intruders that they don't want to be impregnated by. Only 1 out of every 1,000 sea turtles born actually make it to adulthood. Fatal familial insomnia is a rare incurable brain disease that progressively destroys your brain's ability to sleep. Eventually you stop sleeping altogether, go completely insane, suffer from seizures, and die from cardiac arrest. Here are some famous people who predicted their own deaths. Guitar legend Jimi Hendrix once wrote a song called The Ballad of Jimmy that contained these lyrics. Almost exactly 5 years later to the day, he died of an accidental drug overdose. In 1974, Hall of Famer Pistol Pete Maravich told a reporter, "I don't want to play 10 years in the NBA and then die of a heart attack at age 40. He ended up playing 10 seasons and died of a heart attack in 1988 at the age of 40. Mark Twain was born in 1835, shortly after Halley's Comet was passing by Earth. In 1909, he would later say, "I came in with Halley's Comet in 1835 and I expect to go out with it." He died on the exact day the comet appeared in 1910. The lead singer of Lynyrd Skynyrd would always say that he wouldn't live to 30. Even when he was a child, he would tell his father, "Daddy, that's my limit." Sure enough, when he was 29, Ronnie Van Zant died in a plane crash. Here are some stories of feral children who were raised by animals. In 1986, 3-year-old Oksana Malaya was left outside by her abusive parents, so she walked to a nearby shed that was inhabited by wild dogs. When she was rescued 6 years later, she barked, walked on all fours, and had acquired heightened senses for hearing and smelling. Today she lives in a mental hospital and has the social capabilities of a 5-year-old. A Russian boy named Vanya Yudin was raised in a room surrounded by birds in cages because his mom thought he was a pet. When he was rescued in 2008 at the age of 7, he could only communicate by chirping and flapping his arms. Indian sisters Kamala and Amala were found in a wolf's den in 1920. They ran on all fours, ate nothing but raw meat, and didn't look human. They were deformed at the arms and legs and had no interest in interacting with people. Sadly, they had a hard time adjusting to society and died within 10 years. These are some times when humans were saved by wild animals. In 1996, a 3-year-old boy fell into a gorilla enclosure at Brookfield Zoo in Illinois. As employees were fearing the worst, a young mother gorilla named Binti ran over to the boy and picked him up. To everyone's surprise, she carried him over to the exhibit door so that rescue workers could retrieve him. In the year 2000, a man named Kevin Hines survived a jump from the Golden Gate Bridge but broke his spine on impact. But he was miraculously saved by a wild sea lion who kept him afloat until the Coast Guard could reach him. In 2005, an Ethiopian girl was being beaten by 4 kidnappers when a pride of lions chased them away. They even stayed with her until help arrived. Some experts say the lions may have spared the girl because her crying sounded like the meowing of lion cubs. Others suggest that they were just getting ready to eat her when authorities arrived. These are some of the oldest living animals ever recorded. Harriet the Galapagos tortoise was collected by Charles Darwin in 1835 while he was discovering evolution. She died at the age of 175 as a beloved member of Steve Irwin's Australia Zoo. The world's oldest living spider died at the age of 43. Named number 16, she only died after being stung by a wasp. In 2007, a bowhead whale was found with the end of a harpoon stuck in its neck. It was found that the harpoon tip dated back to the year 1890, proving that the bowhead whale is the world's oldest known living mammal. Born in 1751, a koi fish named Hanako reportedly died at the age of 226 in the year 1977. And finally, the Greenland shark is believed to be the oldest living vertebrate species in the world. This specimen is believed to be around 400 years old, meaning it was roaming the depths before the Pilgrims entered America. These are some of the craziest body modifications that people have received. A man named Adam Curlykale tattooed more than 90% of his body, including his eyeballs. He also dyed all of his hair white in order to look like a photo-negative version of himself. A man named Henry Damon has undergone substantial body modifications to look like Red Skull. He removed his nose and tattooed his entire face red and his eyeballs black. A woman named Pixie Fox has undergone 15 surgeries to look like Jessica Rabbit. She even had 6 of her ribs removed to replicate the cartoon character's tiny waist. After removing his nose, this Brazilian tattoo artist spent $500 to have tusks attached to his teeth. And finally, a Filipino man has undergone 23 surgeries to look like Superman. Doctors urged him to stop after they found out he had been using poisonous fillers to achieve his dream. Here are some times when animals got revenge on humans. In 2015, a man from China drove home one day to find a dog laying in his parking spot. Instead of shooing the dog, he decided to kick him out of the way, an action the dog wouldn't forget. Later that evening, he returned with more dogs who proceeded to bite and vandalize the man's car. In 2007, a San Francisco Zoo tigress escaped from her enclosure and attacked 3 men because they were taunting her. After killing one of them, she followed the blood trail of the other 2 men and began mauling them before she was fatally shot by police. In July of 2016, a village in India suffered a series of elephant invasions over a 2-week span. 16 different elephants launched various night attacks and ended up destroying 54 homes. After an investigation was launched, it was found that the attacks began after a member of the elephant's herd was killed by poachers. Close Encounters, Part 1. In 1970, American Captain William Schaffner was on exchange for the Royal Air Force when an unidentified target was detected in his vicinity. The object was picked up on multiple radars over the North Sea as Schaffner was told to investigate. But his mission was apparently a failure since he never returned to base that day, and it was speculated that he must have crashed into the sea. A few months later, his plane was recovered from the seabed and was remarkably intact. Only there was one problem. The plane's canopy was still closed and Captain Schaffner's body was nowhere to be found. A few possible explanations have been proposed, but many people still point to extraterrestrial involvement and a government cover-up. Weird nature facts. A man from Kerala, India set a Guinness World Record by putting 60,000 bees on his face for more than 4 hours. He says bees are his best friends and will only sting him if he treats them improperly. In order to tell whether a female is ready to mate, male giraffes will drink their urine. Sand tiger shark embryos fight to the death in their mother's womb and only the strongest survive. DNA testing revealed that this is due to embryos from different fathers competing to be born. Snails' teeth are the strongest known biological material on the planet. They're stronger than spider silk and can withstand pressure high enough to turn carbon into diamonds. According to a new study, fish eggs can survive and hatch after passing through a duck. This provides one explanation as to how completely isolated bodies of water can become stocked with fish. The platypus has no nipples. Instead, milk simply oozes from the mother's skin. In 2019, scientists were baffled when a 36-foot humpback whale was found in the Amazon rainforest. While a few theories have been put forth, wildlife experts are still scratching their heads as to how it got there. This absolute unit of a mountain lion was captured on a trail cam in Alberta, Canada. Despite being the largest mammal in the history of the world, blue whales do not have large buttholes. Instead, they defecate with an anus the size of a grapefruit. When caterpillars go into their chrysalis, they turn into a soupy liquid. However, as a moth or a butterfly, they can still remember their life as a caterpillar. A calf with 3 eyes was recently born in Wales. The vet who took the picture said she'd never seen anything like it before. These are some of the weirdest creatures on Earth that I bet you've never heard of. The raccoon dog is a species related to foxes that's indigenous to East Asia. It is the only species of wild dog that hibernates during the winter. Known as scalyfoot gastropods, volcano snails are a real thing. They have shells made from iron sulfides and are typically found near hydrothermal vents that can reach 750 degrees Fahrenheit. Leoconcha hieroglyphica is a mollusk that received its name because it looks like it's covered in ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics. The leaf sheep sea slug is often considered to be half plant, half animal. By absorbing chloroplasts from algae, it's the only known animal that can perform photosynthesis. The black swallower is a fish that can swallow food more than 10 times its own mass thanks to its expansive stomach. In 2007, this swallower measuring just 7 inches long was found dead after it tried to digest a 34-inch mackerel. These are some paintings that are far more disturbing than they appear. This is a painting of George Bush throwing paper airplanes at 2 Jenga towers that are knocked over. It clearly signifies Bush's involvement in 9/11, but the weirdest part is that it was found in the home of his former friend Jeffrey Epstein. This is a series of paintings by Louis Wayne from the early 1900s. They capture a slow descent into the varying levels of his schizophrenic episodes. This painting from 1902 has an amazing secret that can only be seen with a mirror placed in the middle. The left half depicts a man with his back to serene mountains in a calm sea. This is God. On the right half is a man with his back to a volcano in a dark, stormy sea. This is the devil. Insane coincidences. In August of 2000, the band Dream Theater recorded a live studio album called Live Scenes from New York. The album cover art features the skyline of New York City on fire, and the craziest part is that it was released on September 11, 2001. This 3,000-year-old sculpture of an Egyptian princess looks exactly like Michael Jackson. After a family lost their dog during Hurricane Sandy, they decided to give up and find a new one 2 years later. So they went to the local shelter, and the first animal the counselor showed them was their missing dog. This faulty 5 Below sign still says the same thing. In 1974, a mother dying from cancer gave a special ring to her son, but he lost it in a river 2 weeks later. After 39 years passed, a diver found the ring underwater and returned it to the man, who was in the hospital dying from cancer. An Australian man named Bill Morgan was once declared dead for 14 minutes but somehow survived. To celebrate his survival, he bought some scratch-offs and won a car. When the news asked him to reenact the moment, he bought another scratch-off for the cameras and won a $250K jackpot. This person was saved from a $300 fine thanks to this absolute bro of a bird blocking their license plate from the camera. This same injured whale was photographed 35 years apart off the coast of Mexico. A man named Walter Summerford was struck by lightning 3 times throughout his life. After his death, his grave was also struck. In 2018, a woman from Canada was shot in the chest from point blank. But miraculously, her breast implant deflected the bullet and her only injury was a fractured rib. In an episode of Johnny Bravo, there's a poster of a building on fire with the words "Coming Soon." This episode aired in April of 2001, just 5 months before 9/11. Narnia the Two-Faced Cat recently gave birth to 2 kittens of each color. In 1981, a South African astronomer gave a lecture on how death could happen at any time. At the end of the lecture, he popped the peppermint candy into his mouth and promptly choked to death. A man from Washington State found a caterpillar that looks like it has the face of Edgar Allan Poe on its back. These 2 nurses were hired within months of each other to work the same shift at the same Florida hospital. They soon discovered that they were long-lost sisters from Korea who had been separated for nearly 40 years. Weird nature facts. It's estimated that about 300,000 years ago, 9 different species of human walked the earth. By 10,000 years ago, all of them had been wiped out due to the rise of a new species, Homo sapien. Baby owls have to sleep face down because their heads are too heavy to hold up. Great Percheron horses are born black and slowly turn white. This is the same stallion over a 12-year span. The Dong Tao chicken, aka the dragon chicken, is an extremely rare breed that only exists in Dong Tao, Vietnam. Oysters produce pearls as a defense mechanism. When a parasite gets stuck in their bodies, they ease the pain by coating it in a substance called nacre. Layer upon layer of this fluid is deposited until a shiny pearl is formed.